Thank you for joining me in this yin yoga class today. Um, Today, we're going to start standing, which is not typical for yin class, but we're going to do a little movement and then we'll make our way down to sit. So first, let's bring hands to heart center and plant your seed of intention for your practice today. Okay, and let's do an Om together. Take a deep inhale. Om. Okay, and release your hands. So start by standing with your feet about hip distance or a little wider apart with a gentle bend to your knees. Just going to start swinging the arms. Go as slow as you like. Just gets the chi moving. It feels really nice. And a little gentle spinal twist as well. So stay grounded in your feet. Just feel the inertia, the weight of your arms. And then you can start to slow it down a little bit. And very gradually, slowly coming back to standing at the center. Okay, now let's start with the bend of the knees. We're going to do a passive forward fold. So bend the knees a lot and start to come into a fold. And now you can let your head hang. Take opposite elbows. So holding opposite elbows with your hands and let everything hang down. So the torso is being pulled by gravity. And there's no resistance to that pull. You're just letting your entire upper body and the weight of your upper body be pulled towards the ground. Okay, and this is helping to create space between the vertebrae, the spine. And you can take some deep breaths into the back body. And we're just getting into the body here. So you can lift your head up a bit and maybe tense your fingers in front of you. We're going to open the feet out wider, and then you can turn your toes out wider than your heels and bring your elbows to your thighs and start to find a bit of a squat. So it's up to you how far you want to go into the squat. You can come half squat, keep supporting your arms at your thighs here. That feels like enough. Or you can come and start to work your way all the way down to Malasana. Then maybe your heels can even come down to the floor. And so you can do the hands in prayer and squeeze the backs of the arms. Or sometimes I like to take a block and kind of reach forward for the block, kind of like a child's pose. You can also sit on the block if you feel like you're kind of close to the earth, but you're not quite squatting down. You can just sit on the block and squat like that. So any of those, it's really nice for getting into the hips. Making space even more in the low back. Okay, so Move the block if you've been sitting on that. And then we're just going to come all the way down to sit. And now you can stretch your legs out. And let's just rub the legs a bit after they were just supporting us in these two poses. You can make loose fists and firmly pat all up and down the outer and inner lines of the legs. You can get the outer edges of the hips too. And the chi likes this firm pressure, just gets everything moving and unstuck. Okay. All right. So now from here, let's just do a happy baby. So come on to the back. And then you can hold either the backs of the thighs or you can hold the outer edges of the feet. So it's almost like we're doing an upside down version of the Malasana yogic squat that we were doing. So the key here is really what you want is this ankle over knee situation, and then the soles of the feet are pointing towards the sky. So if you can't hold your feet while keeping the soles of the feet pointing up, then you have to compromise that by maybe bringing the soles of the feet in towards each other. Well, then just hold the back of the thighs so that the feet can be pointing up. And just settle into this happy baby in your expression. Sometimes people even like to hold the inner edge of the foot rather than the outer edge of the foot, and that's fine. And soften the space between your eyebrows and relax your jaw. And if you like music while you practice, you can always uh, put something on in the background. Just doesn't work out too well over Zoom to have music, but especially in a yin class, it's sometimes nice to have that kind of soft support in the background. Let's take 3 deep breaths. And then release your feet and extend your legs nice and straight and lying flat on the floor. And just feel that all settling into your hips as you lie flat and neutral. Now start to reach your arms up overhead and stretch through the whole body. So lengthen your arms and legs. You can take a few breaths like this. And now if there's any issue with the shoulders, you can keep them out to the side. If reaching up is not possible for you, find a comfortable shoulder position, or you can reach them directly out from the shoulder joint as well. Just something where you can feel that you're getting more space here. And now from here, cross the right ankle on top of the left, and then move your feet to the right corner of the mat. So right ankle on top of left. And then the feet are going to the right corner of the mat. And now if your arms are able to be extended straight up overhead, you're going to grab the left wrist with your right hand and then pull both hands over to the right corner of the mat. Another option is you can take opposite elbows with your hands and just kind of lean the arms over to the right corner of the mat, or you can have the arms reaching to the side if you have shoulder issues. But either way, what you're going for here is this kind of C type of shape with the body. So you're getting into the whole left side of the body, kind of like a crescent moon shape. And while you may not really look so curved as a crescent moon, that's kind of the idea in the mind. So imagining that the hands and feet are going one direction, and then the hips are going the other direction, and you're just lying on your back, making this shape of a crescent moon. And we just came out of a really big full moon. So if you look at the sky tonight, perhaps you'll see this very subtle sliver of a moon. It's quite beautiful. And so you might feel this across, obviously, the left side of the body, and that's the moon channel. But you may also feel it across the front of the left hip, the hip flexor area, and then in the outer edge of the arm by the armpit. Your head can just be natural, relaxed, wherever it wants to fall. Okay, take 3 nice deep breaths as you signal to the body and mentally prepare to move out of this pose. And then when you finish that last breath, you can release your arms down by your side and uncross the feet. And then just bring your feet to the floor about the width of the mat and have some space between your heels and your seat here. And then very gently, we'll swing the legs from side to side like windshield wipers. Then you can pause on each side for a few breaths, or you can keep it moving fluidly, whichever one you like. And now we'll do the other side. So the left ankle will cross on top of the right and bringing the feet to the left corner of the mat. Okay. And now reach the arms up overhead if you can. And then the left hand grabs the right wrist, and then both hands move over towards the left corner of the mat. And the hips are moving to the right. So now you're making that C shape on the opposite side of the body. Make whatever adjustments you need for the shoulders. A lot of people have shoulder issues, and we have to listen to that. So, whatever best expression for the arms you can take while still hitting the target area, which is this whole right side of the body. And now on this side is the sun channel. The left side is the moon channel connected with the mother and grounding. It's the yin energy on the left. And on the right, it's the yang energy. And that's the sun, that's the fire, the masculine, the father. And you may find yourself yawning, which could mean you're tired, but it could also be that you are clearing blockages in these side channels. And it's a sign of the energy trying to enter the central channel. Central channel, the main channel running along the spine, the energy channel. The obstructions of the central channel are ignorance and confusion. And the right side, the masculine, the father line, that's anger and aversion are the obstructions. And then on the left, the moon, the mother side, attachment and desire, create blockages on the mother side. And those are all of those obstructions or blockages are what can cause us suffering. It's ways in which we cling to things, and it's the clinging that causes suffering. And we think that clinging is not about anger and aversion, but that is just a way of pushing away. And pushing away is another form of clinging. It's that aversion of not wanting something close to you and trying to disconnect to it is just as much clinging as trying to draw something into you. And take 3 deep breaths now again. And when you have completed that last breath, you can uncross the feet and release the arms. And then we'll come back to the windshield wipers again. So feet on the floor, the width of the mat, and some space between your seat and your heels. And then gently windshield wipers back and forth, side to side with the knees. And you can choose to pause on each side or keep the movement flowing. And let's just bring these into chest for a moment and make circles with the knees. You can go 7 times clockwise. And then when you finish 7 times, go 7 times counterclockwise. And you'll feel this nice massaging action around the sacral area and the low back as you make the circles with your knees. Okay, and then when you finish that, you can roll onto one side and then up to a seated position. And if you have a bolster, that would be quite helpful. But if not, you can use blankets, pillows. Okay, so if you have the bolster, you're going to take it horizontally pointing out from the right hip. So pointing out from the right hip straight out. And then you take your feet in front of you. So you can start with this kind of wide Baddha Konasana with the feet, the soles of the feet together. And then you're just going to take the left foot and then send it out to the side. So now the soles of both feet are pointing to the left and the knees are bent. So here you may feel that the left hip is lifting off the floor, and that's fine. Eventually, it's going to move towards grounding to the floor. If this feels intense on the hip or the knee or anything, you can bend the left knee in a bit further, and that will make the pose more mild and not as intense on the hip. So make that adjustment there. So you have two options. If you don't have the bolster, what you can do is just this regular kind of deer pose where you have the legs in this position and you lean back on the hands. And you can kind of stay there. Or we can do sleeping deer if you do have a bolster. And even if you don't have a bolster, you can still do this sleeping deer, but you just won't have quite as much support under you. So for sleeping deer, you turn towards the right. So you're over the right hip, and then you drape yourself on top of the bolster. So the torso is coming down towards the bolster, and then you can turn your head to one side, usually resting on the right cheek, for this side would be the most comfortable. And then you start to really let go and settle in. And so the left hip, especially in this sleeping deer pose, will probably be lifting up away from the floor. But the energy is a grounding energy. So the left hip is maybe not touching the floor, but the energy of the left hip is moving in that direction. And once you find that sweet spot where everything feels just the right amount of tension and stretch and sensation, and then find stillness and make that resolve not to move and to just stay still and observe the changes you feel, the sensations you feel. Even though you're staying still, everything's changing. And you can even imagine that you are the sleeping deer, just a fawn curled up under a bush. Relax your jaw and the space between your eyebrows. And take 3 deep breaths. Prepare to move. And very slowly, you're going to come up by planting your palms alongside the bolster and then easing yourself up really slowly. Okay. And then you can pause at the top. So if you had been back on your hands, you can come and sit upright. But when we go to move the legs out of the position, you can lean back on the hands and then just gently extend both legs in front, and you can shake the legs out. And maybe even arch the back and open the chest a little bit, lean the head back. Windshield wipers if you like that one. Whatever feels good for the counter pose. And then we'll do the other side. So take the bolster, and now the short end of the bolster lines up with your left hip. And so you can either come into this Baddha Konasana position first, or you can just, you know, straight away, just send both feet to the right. So the soles of both feet are pointing to the right side with both knees bent. And then if you want to make it a little more mild, you can more deeply bend the right knee. And that will make it a little less intense on the hip. So the more to like a right angle, the knee, uh, the more kind of intense that stretches. So then if you chose to lean back on the first one, you can come back on the hands for this one. Or if you have the bolster, or if you want to do sleeping gear without the bolster or using pillows, turn yourself so that you're over your left hip and the bolster is right beneath you. And then easing down, easing down. The whole torso comes onto the bolster. And then, however your arms feel comfortable, and you can rest the left cheek on the bolster, keeping the tongue at the roof of the mouth, just with the tip of the tongue right behind your top teeth. This is going to automatically relax your jaw and also helps to tone the vagus nerve and stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. So, taking you away from fight or flight. And just keep feeling heavier and heavier. Where can you relax the tension? Where can you soften? Okay, now let's take 3 deep breaths, mentally preparing to move. And then palms to the earth. And very slowly ease yourself up, nice and slow. And then you can come out with the legs, maybe shake them out a bit. And open the chest, if that feels okay for the neck. Open off the cheek. A little reverse tabletop. Okay. Let's move the bolster out of the way. And then we'll take a half shoelace position. So you can cross the right leg on top of the left. Okay. And, um, bringing the knee really as close to the top of the left thigh as you can. And maybe this is feeling like enough sensation already. And if you have any problem with doing this action of the right leg on top of the left with the knee bent, then alternatively, you can take dragonfly. So what that would be is just allowing the right knee to open out to the side. But whenever you do this, you want to make sure that the knee isn't floating up in space. So if the knee doesn't come all the way down to the floor and it's kind of hanging out there, put a prop under it, a blanket, a block, anything that's comfortable and the appropriate height. Okay, so either this or this, okay, one or the other. And now you can ease down to fold over the straight leg. So whether you have the half dragonfly with the knee out or you have the shoelace, okay, this is half shoelace with the knees towards each other, then you can start to gently fold forward. And this is a nice stretch for the hamstring. If you'd like some head support, some options you can do, you can take a bolster and support the head with a bolster like this. Or you can also get creative with some blocks and stack them up. If that feels too hard, you can always put a blanket on top of a block. So however you feel supported and whatever helps you to more deeply release into the pose. Okay. So get it just right, not too intense, but not too easy either. You want sensation. Okay, and 3 deep breaths. just to get yourself ready to come out. And then you can ease yourself up to sitting and pause at the top, move any blocks away or props, and gently extend the right leg. And then sometimes having the knee bent and make the knee a little um, stiff or sore, and you can rub around the knee to get the blood flow back there. And you can go back to your loose fist, pat around. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. So again, it's either the left leg now crosses over the right, so the right leg stays straight. Or if that doesn't feel right, you can bring the sole of the left foot to the right inner thigh. And then if you'd like to use your props to support your head, you can set that up for yourself. But keeping in mind always that sides are different. So be mindful of what one side feels like, and then come into the second side without expectation. And just seeing where you are today. Once you've set yourself up within that container of the sensation of the body being just right, and then also maintaining the stillness, then you can have this internal experience, I suppose, where you're meditating on what it feels like. Where is there tension? How are the sensations changing for you? And it's just about noticing, not at all judging or labeling, even. It's just practicing noticing, non biased observer. So when we can practice doing this with sensations in our body, then we can start to do the same thing with situations in our lives and noticing what is arising in a non judging way. And this is all part of your witness consciousness. And you are not the doer, you are not the breather, you are the timeless essence, observing it all unfold. Okay, 3 deep breaths here. And then start to come back up and then gracefully, mindfully exiting the pose. All right. And now we're going to come to lie down on our belly. You can have a bolster nearby as an option for this. So first, we're all going to come onto our belly and then stack your hands. Place the forehead at the back of the stacked hands and settle in to this crocodile pose. And the crocodile, so symbolic, so many um, ancient religions and even Jungian archetypal energy around the crocodile. Deeply spiritual symbol. It's our kind of base instincts. And also it's the symbol of our sacral chakra, which is in the lower back area above the tailbone. And in the sacral chakra resides your samskaras, which are your karmic patterns, as well as past lives. And this crocodile pose this actually is focused on that area in a mild way, a subtle way. So we're doing a little bit of a back bend as we're in this pose. And this is stimulating the sacral chakra. Also living in the sacral chakra are the um, repressed desires that we abandon and deny. And this is like the deep unconscious waters, like the crocodile lurking beneath the surface that you don't know it's there. And the crocodile is also very deeply connected with the mother, idea of the mother, right? And this is kind of like the womb area also. And anything secretive in nature, secrets are stored in this chakra and connected with the crocodile archetype. Okay, so now let's come to a little bit deeper of a back bend. Unless you really like the crocodile, you can stay right there. If you feel like there's work happening, feel free to stay and kind of meditate on this idea of the crocodile, okay? Or otherwise come up into Sphinx. So with the elbows slightly forward of the shoulders and the forearms on the floor, the palms on the floor, the tops of the feet to the floor. Okay, and now find a bit of pulling down action with the shoulders so that you can then also pull back with the hands a bit isometrically, and then the chest can come out through the shoulders. So shoulders down and chest coming out through the shoulders. And you can rest the head if the neck feels like too much tension. The head can just be soft and kind of hanging down, but you're still trying to send the chest out. Or you can have the head up if the neck feels okay. Okay, and now I'm bringing this back bend deeper into the low back sacral area, stimulating the sacral chakra. This is also the center of our sexuality and our power. And then you can stay in Sphinx, or if you want to come up even further, you can slide your hands closer towards you and then push yourself all the way up into Seal. Doing back bending is really stimulating for the nervous system, and it helps to realign the spine to counter all of the sitting that we do. And, we don't come into a back bend position very often in our day naturally. So it's important to find some time to do this kind of corrective and balancing position of the spine so that the spine remembers that it can move in both directions. The spine was made to move in all directions. Take 3 more deep breaths. It can be a bit intense to do the back bending if you don't do it regularly. And so then very slowly, slowly, slowly releasing yourself down. Okay, and then you can come back to crocodile. Stack your hands, forehead at the back of the hands, and just rock the hips back and forth. Just releasing any tension. Okay, so I would like you to please roll onto your back. I'm going to do spinal twists, but you always want to neutralize the spine after back bending. If you're going to do a spinal twist, you don't want to go straight to the spinal twist from a back bend. So just to release the low back, draw your knees in towards you, and you can rock side to side or make circles with the knees. And if you want to go a little deeper, you can even take a happy baby. And this is just to help release the low back from the back bend, just to neutralize the spine before we come into the spinal twist. All right, so now bring your feet to the floor and your heels are towards your seat. And now you're going to press into your feet so that you can lift your hips up. And now send your hips to the right and then lower them back onto the floor and let your knees drop to the left. Okay, so you're here. And then maybe if the top leg doesn't come too far down, you have the option. You can put something between your knees for comfort and extend the right arm out to the right. And maybe if your neck feels good, you can turn your head to the right and just find your final twist. And take some extra deep breaths in the spinal twist. And that just helps move your spinal fluid. The pressure of the full lungs on the spinal cord as it's in this twisted position, kind of wringing out toxins and getting the spinal fluid to move. And just take a few transitional breaths here before we go to the other side. And start to bring the knees and the hips, everything back to center. And then you can stretch the legs out for a moment, just lie flat. Allow the hips to settle, the spine to settle. And now bend your knees again and bring your feet to the floor. Press into your feet, lift your hips up a little bit, shift them to the left, and then lower your hips down and the knees drop to the right. And so you're free to put a pillow, blanket, or something between the knees if that gives you more support. And the left arm can extend straight out from the shoulder joint. Maybe your head can turn to the left as well. And start to breathe into your spine. And place the tongue at the roof of the mouth, tip of the tongue behind the top teeth, and relax your third eye area. And just imagine your whole nervous system resetting with spinal twist. Take 3 deep breaths. And bring your legs back to center, everything on the center line. And then extend your legs. And feel the hips settle. And now for our final rest, if you just want to take regular Shavasana, then you're more than welcome to just stay here and settle in. Or what I'd like to do today is to take Supta Baddha Konasana. So for this, you need bolster or some rolled up blankets or some pillows. Okay, and you're going to create this support that runs vertically with the spine. Okay, and then have some blocks or pillows. Pillows might be a little bit more comfortable. So have 2 of those. And what we're going to do is bring the soles of the feet together and keep a nice wide space between the legs, like diamond shape. And then you can put the pillows, whatever support you have, underneath the knees or the thighs so that there's something for the knees to let go into. All right. And then you can even put a pillow or a blanket on the bolster. This, and then start to lie down back on the bolster. Okay. And then another thing you can do if you feel like that's too far back is you can put instead of in addition to or instead of the pillow, you can put a block underneath the bolster and that will lift it up a little bit further if you feel like that was too flat. So get yourself set up nice and comfortable. And so for this, because this is for the Shavasana, for the rest, you want everything to be relaxed. So this isn't a situation where you're trying to create sensation like we're doing with the other poses. This is just restorative and it's really creating support around this position so that this whole area of the pelvis and the root and the sacral chakra can really open. Okay, so for me, this is not enough. So I'm going to get another block. And every day is different, so I need a little bit more support today. Put that up, get it just right. And you'll know when you have the proper support, then you can really, really start to let go. It's such a supportive and restorative pose. Stay in this Supta Baddha Konasana. And stay here and rest and relax. Allowing the body to integrate the work you've done. And I'm going to let you stay here for as long as you like, because we are kind of at time, but I want to give you the space here to really settle into this restorative pose and provide the space for the deep release of the whole pelvic area. So important. And this can even be something that you do on its own, and setting yourself up for the reclined Baddha Konasana like this. And you can lie here for 10 minutes. You can build up to that. Start with a couple of minutes, looking up 10 or 15 minutes. Deeply healing, deeply, deeply healing, especially for women. And so I'll leave you there, but I encourage you to stay and rest for a bit longer if you can, and just really connect with that and letting go and relaxation and allowing your parasympathetic nervous system to really kick in so that you can heal, right? Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.